Welcome back to Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin. We are here with, we've got Mayor Pro Tem Jeff Griffith. Councilman, you're from District 3, right?
Yes.
District 3.
Heart of the city.
That's right, right in the center. I want to thank you for coming on, and we got a lot to talk about. Now, one of the big things that y'all did was budgets, and y'all finalized a budget. One of the questions I have to ask: tornado sirens, are they still in there?
Yes. And let me explain about that. I'm glad you brought this up.
Explain about it, but all right, go for it.
Give me a chance here,
all right,
Mr. Martin. And by the way, good morning.
Good morning.
It was a nice drive out here this morning.
Oh man, it was beautiful, wasn't it?
It really actually is, and I actually rolled the window down as I drove out here, so
it's refreshing.
It has that fall football feel. Outdoor warning.
Yeah. Not going to wake you up in the house.
I was never a fan of this when we were looking at it 3, 4, 5 years ago, Matt, when it was $3 million plus and the technology wasn't that good. As the technology's improved and you reanalyze it, and it's about $980,000, so still, let's say $1 million for the whole city.
Right. Plus a position.
And the positions adds about $50,000 on emergency management. The bottom line is this. I was here as a kid in my mom and dad's utility room with a mattress over my head when the tornado hit. Let me tell you, maybe we've skirted by in these past 50 years. We've had some incidents. Our job's public safety. I think this is still an efficient way of doing it now. Not everybody's got their cell phone on. Not everybody, and I hope people will get the LBK Alert app on their phone. That's the best way of doing it. And you're right. The way houses are built now, you may not hear it inside your living room or bedroom.
According to the councilman that we've talked to in the past, it's not made to be heard inside a house. It's made to be heard outside.
You're going to hear it. You're going to hear it in that neighborhood. You are definitely going to hear it in that neighborhood. But Matt, if it saves one life, 980,000 is not a lot of money in the overall scheme of public safety. We're going to spend $70 million on police. We're going to spend over $50 million on fire this year in the approved budget. So the 980,000, the one time.
But if it saves
cost.
one life thing, it's not. I don't think that's a valid argument when you're talking about a cost, especially with something. It's not going to wake people up from their homes. In other words, if they're asleep in the middle of the night at a time when you can't see what's going on, it's not going to wake somebody up. It's not going to be.
Again, it will if you're in that neighborhood. If you look at the zoning, you've got to understand the technology. And yes, in a lot of the zones, absolutely, you're going to hear it.
It seems like to me, and this is just from what I've read and what I've seen and what this is meant to do, the only person that this was meant for was the homeless people.
No.
And that's what it seems because it's meant to be heard outside. And most of the tornadoes that you're going to see and you're going to have a problem with are going to be at a time when you can't see what's going on, something like when it's dark outside. So who's going to be in a position?
Tornadoes don't just happen at night.
I understand that, but you're going to be able to see what's going on. You're going to be able to look at your weather app. You're going to be able to have a much better idea of what's going on if they're happening during the day than if they're happening at night.
Right. The bottom line is public safety is about letting every citizen know. This isn't a foolproof device. We know that as I'm holding up my cell phone, listeners, but it's the advantage that we're going after is that it's another tool in the toolbox. It's another way to protect the citizens. We're still on the edge. Let's be honest. We're just on the edge of the tornado alley, as we used to call it. As I've talked with the folks that actually understand weather in West Texas, they're all about this. All the meteorologists around Lubbock, and I spoke with a lot of them, from our major television stations. And they're all for this. They believe it's another tool in the toolbox to help us.
Well, but again, if this was last year, I probably wouldn't be as against it. But we're talking about a time when we're already looking at potential shortfalls in the budget. We're already looking
We are?
Well, I mean, not right now, but long term, we don't know what's going to happen with COVID-19.
That's the reason we've kept, we're paying down $108 million of city debt in this future budget. We're able to stabilize, even with property tax creep, appraisal creep. We think that the average homeowner's property tax bill will stay relatively flat. The tax rate goes down 1.6 cents by state law because of new revenue, which is over $2.5 million of new growth. That's new houses, new buildings, and those are being on the tax roll. The city is in really good shape. There are no, let's be honest, it's a very flat, tight budget. The advantage is that we're going to maintain reserves for the future. The city's in good shape. The citizens need to know that. But we wanted to keep the tax rate as even as possible, even by lowering it, figuring that there's going to, because people's budgets are tough during this COVID time. And you're right. You're exactly right, my friend. We don't know what's going to happen. The cool deal is that we continue on this path. Your city, we were able to add in this budget, we're adding another $700,000 for police. And trust me, I wish I could have added more.
Yeah.
I believe that public safety is our job number one. And let's be honest, as a growing city, crime is an issue, and we want to be behind our police.
So did the change in appraisals, I know that we had Latrell Joy, Councilwoman Latrell Joy last 2 weeks ago, and she was talking about how there were changes. I think three different times there were changes in the appraisals because of from the county, from the appraisals office. Did appraisals going down hurt the budget at all?
Some appraisals went down, obviously. In this coming year, appraisals will go down. Let's look at let's jump ahead into the following year. And that's something that we talked about is you've got a lot of commercial because of COVID. We're going to have a lot of commercial empty big box locations that may not hit the tax roll as high as they used to. So that is a concern, another cycle away. But when you look at city growth, my gosh, building permits, it's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, this city continues to grow. You look at our sales tax numbers. We're basically going to be almost flat with last year, considering what's happened this summer.
Do we know?
Gosh.
Do we know how much difference the change in the fact that places like Amazon and online companies, because of I guess it was a Supreme Court decision, decided that they had to pay local sales taxes, how much difference that made?
That's a great question, Matt, and I wish the CFO of the city, Blue Kostelich, would get me that answer for you. I don't have that. I'm sure he does. But, yes, that is part of the growth. But, yes, they should be paying tax, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've got to take a quick break. Like I said, we're on with Mayor Pro Tem Jeff Griffith here on News Talk 95.1 FM, 790 AM, KFYO, Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin. Welcome back to Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin. And Dave, I've kind of been taking over the show. Did you have something you wanted to ask Jeff?
Well, I certainly do. I want to continue on and put my 2 cents in. I was not able to speak there, Jeff. Good morning, by the way.
Good morning, Dave. I'm sorry.
Well, that's we had a little technical difficulty,
okay.
So I wasn't able to talk the last segment. But I want to put my 2 cents in on these Sirens. Jeff, I'm against them. I think it's 1950s technology. I think we're blowing $1 million. Plus, probably more importantly, as I understand it, you're having to hire an individual to do what God knows what, maintain these things or whatever. That goes on forever. I don't get it. Everybody has a cell phone now, and you can be alerted on that. And Matt said he thought you were doing it just to help the homeless. Well, the homeless have cell phones. What are you talking about? Anyway, I wanted to get that out. And by the way, the thought that if it just saves one person's life, hey, if you go out there and cut the speed limit in half, it'll save a lot more than one person's life. So I just don't know that all of that's relative.
Dave, I understand where you're coming from. It's not 1950s technology anymore. And I was explaining to Matt here in the studio, I was not for this a few years ago. But as the technology has improved,
okay, well, let me
that's
backtrack.
And so that's where I had a change of heart, and I
I'm
felt
sure
like it at a point, and I know that it's hard to understand an $860 million plus budget that you say 980,000 is a value. However, I do think that because of the technology improvements and because of how we are responsible for public safety, if we're spending over $50 million for fire and rescue, we're spending over $70 million for police. And so this is another component, is our emergency management.
Jeff?
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you, is this a done deal?
Yes. We voted last night. We have the system is not purchased. However, we approved the budget last night.
Okay,
finally.
then let's move on. I mean, if it's
Anyway.
a done deal, it's a done deal. No sense in beating a dead horse.
So,
well, no, you can beat me. I'm the dead horse.
Yeah. So,
And you know that, Mr.
Hey,
King.
you know that this is America. You know I love you, and I agree with almost everything that you guys have done. I think overall you've done a very good job. That's just one thing. That's just one thing that I cannot understand the logic in doing
I understand.
Okay.
I understand.
So
I get it.
you said that there was $700,000 more toward the police budget.
Yes.
I think. What exactly is that going to do? I know that we've got the police substations coming up, as well as a new central office for the police. What exactly, as far as we're not hiring any more police officers?
No, but we've got some in the academy because, gentlemen, you've always got folks that are retiring or leaving, and so you always need to fill the pipeline. Do we have enough? Absolutely not. I mean, we need more. But we continue. Chief Mitchell and his administration continue to recruit. And we have ongoing classes right now, and very proud of what they're doing. And the cool thing is, a lot of folks that are in law enforcement want to get out of some other cities. Mm-hmm. Well, Lubbock's a very attractive place to live and
what is it?
Be a public servant as a law officer.
Rochester, New York, I think, just lost about half of their police force.
There may be
Was
some.
it Rochester?
There may be
I
some.
think so.
Yeah, exactly. But seriously, the ongoing substation plan is really, really neat and coming together.
Okay. All right. Well, again, we got to take a quick break. We'll be back after the 7:30 break with Councilman Jeff Griffith, Mayor Pro Tem Jeff Griffith, on News Talk 95.1 FM, 790 AM KFYO, mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin. Welcome back to Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin. And we got a text message here. We're talking with Mayor Pro Tem Jeff Griffith. They said, what is the status amount of the city's unfunded pension liability? And we talked a little bit about that. The percentages, how much we are.
It's a really good question because, and for the listener that asked, I think maybe that comes from the fact that a lot of cities have been in trouble with their pension liability.
Yeah, Houston, Dallas, a lot of the bigger cities have
Chicago,
had a huge problem.
Yeah. Ours is we're about in the major group, which is the majority of the city, is at about 80 plus percent. Fire and rescue is under that. Fire and rescue is a different mechanism, the way their retirement is set up, and theirs is not as high, but it's come up dramatically in the past few years. They're actually putting the fire and rescue. They're putting more in each employee, so it's improved. I don't know if it's at 75 yet, but as far as funded,
no,
but 80%. But you got to remember, we got over 2,400 city employees, so but we're very, very safe as far as our funding mechanism.
Now, when you again, we talked about this during the break, but when you're looking at liability, you're talking about over the lifetime of somebody who.
That's correct.
So as far as this year, there's no issues with this year or any years that you can see in the future.
Not at all.
And it's a possibility that what you have in there with interest rate and everything else and it being invested could cover every liability you have. But at this time, it's an 80% liability of what's believed to be the lifetime of those who are on.
We're 80%
funded.
funded,
Right?
Yeah,
money
funded.
wise.
But so the city of Lubbock is very, very safe in its retirement funding for the employees.
Yeah.
But we also have really good news on the fact that from our really good finance folks in our investments. So we've done very well with reserve dollars in investments, and I'm very proud of what that department continues to do.
Well, let me ask you this. According to a dozen or so of the text messages we've got this morning, what about there are people, is my point, are concerned about the murder rate in our city, and and I would prefer to see if there's $1 million laying around to send it to our police department, Jeff, that hopes to make us a little safer. I know Sheriff Rowe has gone to the county and gotten a little more money. How are we doing funding our police department, and has the chief asked for more money?
Public safety, Dave, great question. Public safety went up a little over $1 million. The police department got, I believe, about 700,000 more than last year. So yes, we are continuing to fund that. Do we have enough officers? Like I was telling Matt, we have a lot of them coming out of the police academy. Still not enough, but I think that I'm so proud of our police department in that I've seen great action from them in the past. The exact example, some of them I don't want to go into on the radio, but you have to understand our police administration is definitely doing the right things. They are hitting on all cylinders. And I understand we still don't have enough folks on the streets. We never will as the city continues to grow. But it is something that I think the city council that's a focused area for.
You think?
Yes, sir.
Well,
I really do, and I think the substations will help. The new crime lab that will be built will help.
Yeah.
Do
you think that? Well, I'll tell you what. Let me ask you this. And I think you made a really good point. The city of Lubbock is growing. It's just exploding, and I don't know. It's going to be difficult to keep up with it from many standpoints, and law and order probably is one of those. Here, tell me this, if you have the answer to it. What are the qualifications for, say, a young man or young woman to get into the police academy? And how long does it take to go through it? And what can you expect to make coming out on the other side?
Okay, Dave, we're going to have to take a quick break, and then he can answer that on the other side. Sorry, we got to take a quick break. We'll be right back on News Talk 95.1 FM, 790 AM KFYO. Welcome back to Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin, and we got Mayor Pro Tem Jeff Griffith on. We got you in studio, and one of the things Dave just brought up, he wanted to know: do you know how long someone in the police academy goes, and what kind of pay they can look at on the other end?
Don't have the exact day, but I'm going to tell you that it's over 50,000 is a starting salary. It's a many-month training. Lubbock is unique in that we have our own police academy.
And good facilities, too.
Absolutely. Very good facilities. And it's important that we are a little stricter. It's very rigorous. It's a huge written test. It is. So it's, I mean, you got to be strong. You got to have definitely the mental skills. You have to have the physical skills, because even the physical training is very rigorous from what I understand and have heard. So that's very important. There's credit check.
So are they not hiring you as a police officer?
I'm probably not going to pass the physical. Mr. Martin, I know you're shocked at that, but I probably could not get the physical done as far as...
Actually, hey, I heard the chief say the other day that he wouldn't hire you. No.
Dave, hey, are you telling me he's hiring you?
No, he said he wasn't going to hire me either.
Well, I guess we're just we'll just be wannabes.
Yeah. All right. Well, one of the big questions that we've had a lot of people, and it's because I guess Charles Perry, the Senator Charles Perry, came out with a letter that asked the city of Lubbock to become a sanctuary city for the unborn. Now, I think he actually sent some policies to y'all, and I don't know. Did y'all discuss that at all last night?
No, we couldn't. I think it'll be discussed in the future. The way it was sent to us, it was actually sent to the mayor and to all the members of the city council. Mm-hmm. And no offense to the mayoral position in the city of Lubbock, but the way it works is that if you have a recommended ordinance you want to happen, the mayor can't bring one forward. Mm-hmm. It has to be one of the 6 council district and a second council district. So you have 2 council members that can bring forth an ordinance. Mm-hmm. The mayor can't bring anything forth. By state law, we have to be very careful with Open Meetings Act, so it's not like we can all just huddle and start talking about it. So you don't want any walking quorums. But what was sent to us was one that I think has been used in some very small communities in Texas. I would say that the next council meeting, I think it'll come up. I understand it's a very passionate topic for people on both sides of this topic, but I think you have to understand it's federal law. Mm-hmm. When we are sworn into office, we're sworn in to uphold the Constitution. And it's this, the way this is written, and I don't have I'm not looking at it from pro-life or pro-abortion. What I'm looking at is law. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking as far as the city goes, that this particular ordinance is really not enforceable. Even states that it's not enforceable unless Roe v. Wade is overturned.
Right.
So it's kind of like, well, if that's the case, if Roe v. Wade was to ever get overturned, the city can act within 72 hours and put in an ordinance that would have meaning. This, in my opinion, from my legal counsel, this has no meaning.
Yeah. So it would be mostly symbolic. Is one of the things that my understanding is that what people are looking for is to be able to prosecute once and if Roe v. Wade gets overturned. Would this open up the door for you to prosecute somebody potentially? Let's say they did something now right after the law goes through, and then Roe v. Wade gets overturned 2 years later. Since murder has no, a date that it would expire, could you go back and prosecute that person for murder?
The ordinance defines the act as murder, and yet the fine is $2,000. Illustrates the issue is a state issue where penalties are stiffer. It's a state issue,
Right.
And maybe our folks, our legislators, we got great people in the legislature, and maybe they need to take this to those particular bodies, the House of Representatives
I think the state
and
of
the Senate.
Texas said that they're going to pick it up, essentially saying they're looking at making a bill that would say that if Roe v. Wade gets overturned, that the second it does, that it would automatically put Texas as a no abortion state.
And maybe that's where that should go.
Yeah.
Because honestly, if you did this community by community, the concern is with Planned Parenthood, what are they going to do? They'll be on the outside of town.
So one of the other questions that
it really is a state issue
that they had was some people said that the city could stop Planned Parenthood from coming into Lubbock altogether. Is that an actual possibility?
No.
Yeah. All right. Well, we do have to take another quick break. We'll be right back with Mayor Pro Tem Jeff Griffith here on News Talk 95.1 FM, 790 AM, KFYO. Welcome back to Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin. We've got one more segment. Got about 2.5 minutes. Dave, did you have any other questions you wanted to ask Jeff?
Oh, geez. You caught me flat-footed there.
Oh, that's fine. Jeff, was there anything else that y'all talked about that was important?
I want to ask Dave a question.
Uh-oh, Dave, you're in trouble now.
Oh, boy. I don't know that that's allowed on this show, Jeff.
You're doing well. It is nice that I'm sorry I didn't get to see you this morning, but you sound good, and I appreciate you and Matt and your thoughtful questions, and I appreciate the fact that what you guys do here. It does not go unappreciated. So y'all really do have a good show. I know that's a softball to you, but thank you for what you do, sir. I'm sorry I missed you.
So we have a few questions on the text. They want to know more about the Planned Parenthood, and I know that's something the council is not didn't bring up last night. Is it something that's going to be brought up in the future?
Yes.
Is there going to be discussion?
Yeah, I believe there'll be discussion.
Will there be
2 weeks from now?
Open forums for people to come in and discuss it?
You know, Matt, I really, this is just my opinion. I think right now, all this Planned Parenthood talk, or let's just say this Planned Parenthood idea is something that is probably beyond our legal comprehension. So because I don't know, I don't begin to know what the law is on this stuff.
There's of the proposed ordinance, there's been some small towns, 13 have adopted, 6 denied. Lawsuits are filed in 7 of the towns. So you're right, it is some legal battles, but at the same time, I appreciate folks on both sides of the issue. I have to look at it from a legal standpoint, not an emotional standpoint. And that's my job. And so I will be continuing to understand this better. And that we did have folks come to the council last night outside the building and had kind of a rally. And I appreciate folks' passion about it. I really do. But I understand. And, yes, I've received a lot of emails on both sides of this topic.
Hey, Jeff, one quick question. Let me ask you, are you enjoying all the niceties of Citizens Tower?
Dave, it is a great building. I'm very proud of it. I took a lot of hits years ago about it. If people will come visit it, they'll understand, appreciate, they'll be proud of our city.
I'll tell you, I saw him the other day. I went to his office, and he was sitting in there counting his $25, one bill at a time, that he got last month from being a city councilman.
Thanks for burning that in, Martin.
Fat cat in his tower with his $25.
Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Matt, you made an excellent point, and I want to remind all our listeners who can be so litigious and to our city council. They make $25 a month. Give
We're
them a break.
overpaid.
Jeez, didn't even pay
I
for
think
their
some
gas
people
money.
may think that, but
I've been called that.
we've got to go. Jeff, thank you for coming on. Mayor Pro Tem Jeff Griffith. And hopefully we'll have Dr. Skuvinik next. He's scheduled to be on Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin.